Well, good morning. I want to start off by thanking the fourth branch of government for being here and for the coverage that you provide and the openness that you provide on our government as best as you can in the state of New York, and we appreciate your coverage. There's a concerted campaign from the far left that is hateful, that is divisive, that is dangerous, and that is deploying the tactic of terror against people simply for owning a certain type of vehicle like a Tesla. We're looking to address that with legislation. So by creating a new line in criminal mischief in the third, which will be a Class E felony, if someone damages property because they want to express their political ideology, damaging someone's personal property, that would be a new crime of criminal mischief in the third, a Class E felony. There's ways to express yourself in the United States. Damaging someone else's personal property is not political expression. Democrats who want to promote electric vehicles like Tesla should co-sponsor this bill. It's critical to have electric vehicles if they want to meet their CLCPA mandates. Democrats who want to promote free speech and expression in a nonviolent way should also support this legislation. So we've circled it for co-sponsorship in the state Senate, and I hope many of my colleagues on my side of the aisle and across the aisle sign on, support, and pass this legislation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris Tague.
Thank you. Well, first of all, good morning. I'm Assemblyman Chris Tague, and I approve this message. Most importantly, I want to thank Senator Walczak and thank the senator for allowing me to carry this bill in the Assembly. Very, very important. And as he is, I am also going to pass the bill around, and hopefully we will have a bipartisan effort on both sides of the aisle in the Assembly. But, you don't get to call it activism when it's in fact vandalism. If you destroy someone's car, deface their property, or smash a window because you don't like their politics, that's not a protest. It's called criminal mischief, and it should be treated as such. This bill is about protecting people's property from political violence, plain and simple. We're not talking about defacing lawn signs here. We're talking about real damage to people's expensive property. And we're drawing a line. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom to destroy. And a little message for Elon Musk. If you're listening, Elon, there are a number of us here in New York who actually have your back. I'll open it up for any questions for the senator and I. Thank you.
On top.
So on this subject, obviously you're pointing specifically to issues where people's Teslas have been attacked. I'm just curious, obviously there's a big political debate right now over the role of Elon Musk in the government. Do you think linking this specifically to Tesla makes it less or more likely to pass, and why?
Look, Tesla is obviously the most out front. You've seen people damaging Teslas as a way to express themselves politically. It's not appropriate. We've seen where, a Jewish man driving a Tesla in New York City has a swastika put on his Tesla. Incredibly offensive things. But also Teslas are being keyed across the country. There are some laws on the books that address terrorism, domestic terrorism. Also, if you do an incredible amount of damage, it may also amount to a felony. But some of the smaller crimes, they consider that a political expression. This is not how we express our political views in the state of New York. That's why we're adding a new tool for prosecutors to be able to prosecute people who think that it's okay to damage someone else's personal property as a way to express themselves politically. It's not. That's not how we do representative democracy in this country.
I can see where people are coming from on this issue, that people don't want their property being damaged, certainly. There's also a lot of concerns about free speech kind of coming from the political right, and this idea that advocating for Palestine and against the Israeli occupation of the occupied territories, West Bank, and obviously everything going on in Gaza. Do you believe that advocating for Palestine equates with anti-Semitism?
There's a way to express yourself in the United States of America. We have plenty of nonviolent ways to express yourself. We have a First Amendment, a strong First Amendment in the United States. Ironically, in this case, Elon Musk bought Twitter, now X, in order to open up that free expression for people. So there's plenty of ways to voice your dissent, your opposition, your political views. Keying someone's Tesla is not the way to express yourself, and that's why we're adding this new law.
Would nonviolent advocacy for Palestine, be in line with what you're saying here?
Yeah, you have the right to freely express your views in the United
It's
States.
within the Constitution. If you don't break the law or break the laws of the Constitution, then yeah. You don't have to agree with somebody. We don't agree with a lot of people here with the policies they bring, but you don't see us defacing their vehicles down in the garage. You don't see us going into their offices and ransacking them. You don't see us protesting. They have every right to believe in what they believe in. I feel there's been times here that my free speech has been violated by the majority.
Last thing, and I'll hand it off to my colleagues. Then with that in mind, do you share the concerns of many in this country that the administration is targeting people because of their First Amendment activities, First Amendment protected activities?
I don't agree with that.
No concerns?
I have no concerns. I think that they're following the law. That's why we have a judicial system. That's why we have a court system. You want to talk about somebody's rights being violated. For the last 4 years, Donald Trump's rights have been, as far as I'm concerned, have been violated several times through several issues.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Elaborate on that.
the right of freedom of the press, the right to freely express yourself, the right to express your opinions. Our founders saw that these were critical. The right to redress of grievances, they were critical when they wrote our Constitution. They weren't considering that somebody might go out and key a Tesla, and that certainly wasn't part of your First Amendment rights. So that's what we're looking to tackle here, is that people who choose to express themselves in ways that damage others' personal property, that will be criminal mischief in the third and will be prosecuted, a classy felony. They could face 1 to 4 years in prison in New York State.
What do you say to the notion that people have been defacing properties and keying cars and doing all these things, and I don't know how long you've both been in the legislature. Why did it take till something was done to Elon Musk for you to come and hold a press conference about it? Literally the richest person in the world, when there's any number of people who've been harassed and whatever for other reasons that fall outside the hate crime statute. Why now?
Well, this bill isn't specifically for Elon Musk. They're not doing damage to Elon Musk's property, sometimes at the dealerships, but that could probably be prosecuted by something much more serious than criminal mischief in the third that we're proposing here. This bill specifically addresses the damage that people are doing to people's Tesla vehicles. And because we've seen that, that could creep into whatever the next issue is. If this is the precedent that we're now setting, that the way to express yourself when you disagree with someone is to go out and damage their personal property just because of the vehicle that they drive, we want to make sure that we nip that in the bud. And that's why I think that Democrats and Republicans in the Senate and the Assembly should all get behind this legislation. It should be very bipartisan.
So if I go out to a store and I get some spray paint and I graffiti farts on the wall, I can be arrested, right? That's a crime. If I wrote Donald Trump smells like farts, it's a felony?
I don't believe that that's the case at all.
But
I
that
think
would
that
express a political ideology.
Well, my thinking is when you deface somebody's personal property, I think that's what our bill says. If you deface somebody's personal property, like a vehicle, or you go and smash the windows out of somebody's house or car because they had a certain political sign on their front lawn, that's what this bill says. Listen, how many Democrats out there have bought Teslas over the years? So if you go against them,
Yeah.
okay, that's the point here. People are just out there.
If someone has a Joe Biden sign and I say,
Yeah.
smells like farts, on the bottom of the
Well,
binding
I think we said
that
it,
effective?
I think you missed it when we first started here. We said in here, this isn't about defacing political signs, okay? That's not the point. We're
What about
talking.
someone's house, though?
Yeah, I think that if you did it to somebody's house, you should, it doesn't matter who it is. If you go on my personal property, or if I went to your house and spray painted your house,
Sure.
then you should be held accountable.
But if I just wrote, I don't know, pick a word. If I just went to your house randomly, I'm a dumb kid or I'm a dumb adult, and I wrote, I don't know, pick a word. Ice cream. Yeah.
Well, let me tell
and
you-
I spray painted your
So-
house. That's different than if I said
So
maybe something about you or some kind of political message.
graffiti is already against the law in the
That's
state
what
of
I'm
New
saying,
York. You
right.
could be prosecuted, and depending on the amount of damage that you do in your graffiti, it may be a felony.
But if I
We're
have a
giving
political
prosecutors.
message, does it escalate to a felony?
We're giving prosecutors an additional tool that if your motivation for that graffiti was political, if you thought damaging somebody's property was your right for political expression, we're saying prosecutors should have the tool to, yes, charge you with a Class C felony.
Again, I have to ask the question again, I mean, this was never come, so just so, you know, I'm clear, you're saying did this idea ever come up in the past? I mean, how long have you both been in Albany now, you know?
8 years?
8 years,
5.
5 years. So, I'm assuming Teslas aren't the first time you've seen something defaced for a political reason. Why is it now?
I think the fact that
In
it's,
the case that, yeah, I know you're saying it's Teslas, it's not Elon Musk, but it's Elon Musk's associated product, and what would you say, not for me, but the notion that you're pandering to Elon Musk and to the Trump administration by putting this out there?
I think right now we're protecting the citizens of New York State, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. If they have a piece of property and somebody just over political reasons goes and does damage to their vehicle or their property, they should be held accountable.
Aren't they already?
Plain and simple, not to this effect, and they should be. And the reason why it came up is because it's been national news. You folks have been reporting it.
That would make it a B misdemeanor?
I'm not sure. What, do you know what it is?
For what?
A B misdemeanor?
Is that what this would make it a B misdemeanor, or would it be?
Criminal mischief in the third is a
The
Class
third
C
degree.
felony.
Oh, it would be so up to.
Yeah, Class E felony.
So 1 to 3 or 4, and what would it be if it's not politically motivated?
Well, that would be up to the judge. That would be up to the judge.
Depending on the amount of damage, it may already be a Class C felony.
Have you folks supported hate crime legislation here previously?
I would have to look. I don't know how many bills that we've passed here. I'd have to look. I'm sure that somewhere that way down the line in the last 8 years we'd have, but I'd have to look. I can't tell you for certain.
Can I go back to this your question?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. had a really good question that I want to get
This
into.
is
Do you
very
support the
similar to-
idea, if it is very clear, murder is against the law, assaulting someone's against the law. If it is very clear, say someone is a member of the Ku Klux Klan, should they face higher penalties for attacking someone because they're black?
I think that you have to follow the law.
So
So do you believe they should face, do you, Chris Tague, believe they should face higher penalties than someone who merely, assaults somebody?
Well, I think
for
if it's,
not
I
having
think that we
authorization?
have laws in place. If it's a hate crime, absolutely.
But do you support that law?
Do I support what law?
Enhanced penalties if someone's clearly-
Absolutely. If somebody attacks somebody for hate, absolutely. Listen, here, you want a perfect example? I spent a lot of my life overweight. I've been teased my whole life over my weight, okay? So I understand what it's like for somebody to be teased over something, especially as a younger person. So yeah, I do agree with that. Of course I do.
I have a question, if I can ask about Tesla's deals with New York State. We know that they've been built a whole plant in Buffalo. The deal didn't turn out the way it was supposed to be. Can you stand up here and advocate in defense of Tesla owners? Do you also, I know you have problems how much this government spends, the Democratic-run government. Do you have issues with the deals that they've made with Tesla? And whether or not that benefits the taxpayers?
So I was actually a co-sponsor of Senator Fahey's bill when she was in the assembly to open up additional franchises to allow Tesla to sell more electric vehicles. While I disagreed with the direction of the CLCPA, I saw it as critical to opening up to the only American-made electrics in the second largest At the time, they were the largest producer of EVs in the world. Now they're second to the company in China, BYD. But I think if Democrats want to meet their climate goals, they need to sell more Teslas in New York State. And I think that's kind of the other interesting rub here, is that it's the far left that is defacing these vehicles and shaming people simply for driving a Tesla, while they're also pushing mandates for people to drive more electric vehicles. That doesn't make sense, and that's a part of the reason that I think Democrats should jump up to join us in this. But can I go back to your question, because you asked about how long we've served here and how is this just coming up right now. I haven't, at least in my tenure here, I haven't seen an issue like this where people have been so personally vindictive against one particular brand and going out and damaging people's property. And you have a legislature that can look at issues and address them. Clearly, if this is going to be from the far left, if they're moving the bar, if this is going to be the new standard, this is how we politically express ourselves. We go out and we bully the public because of our assumption of a political view, because they drive a certain brand of vehicle, then yes, I think it's very appropriate for us to address that legislatively and give prosecutors the tools to go after people who are expressing themselves that way.
I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there was an increase in hate crimes in recent years, which I'm not saying it's his fault, but did coincide with, some people said it was, blame the current administration in Washington for it. But, I mean, did you put anything forward saying, hey, let's try to go after, there's an increase in hate crimes, let's try to increase, the hate crimes law. What makes this, it sounds like you're saying you've never seen an issue like this. So just so I'm clear, you've never seen someone targeted other than Elon Musk's Tesla politically the entire time you've been here?
I haven't seen a specific brand draw so much hatred out of the far left that they're actually targeting that specific brand.
And what are the numbers of this to support this? Like you said it earlier, I apologize, but what do you have statistics to show how much this is actually happening?
We have great reporting from the fourth branch of government that's shown us that it's probably much worse than we even realize. There was a guy from The Atlantic that wrote an article recently. From The Atlantic, you can guess about a general political leaning based on that, right? Drives a Tesla, okay. Was given the middle finger, was shouted at multiple times just while driving down the street. This is not how we politically express ourselves.
One more question, guys. I wanted to build on Jason's question, because you only answered half of it. New York has a lease. We own the Tesla plant in Buffalo, and we lease it. Should that lease be renegotiated? Should it be renewed? There's a proposal to renew it on the table.
I'm not tracking the eaches of the lease in Buffalo. I couldn't get into detail. I'd be happy to look into it and get back to you on a position.
Have there been any
We
instances
got to get back into session to vote, so,
Have there been any instances of attacks in your districts on Teslas or other?
not that I'm familiar with.
There definitely have in New York State.
I mean, are there numbers that you can, I know you mentioned the Atlantic article, but are there actual numbers, statistics, something that you could?
We'll get you some numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get it for